The exchange program. Admiral Khizix massaged his crystalline temples, a gesture he picked up from his human counterpart during diplomatic meetings. Before him, 3 datapads displayed the applications that had ruined his otherwise peaceful morning. The Galactic Defense Academy's Stealth Operations Division had never, in its 8,000 cycles of existence, accepted students from pre-FTL civilizations. Yet here he sat, forced by interspecies cooperation treaties to consider 3 humans for admission. They listed Parker as a critical skill. He muttered to his assistant, Varax, whose photoreceptors dimmed in sympathy. What in the void is parkour? According to Earth databases, Varax's mechanical voice carried a hint of confusion. It involves jumping between buildings and performing acrobatic maneuvers in urban environments. For fun. For fun. Khizix repeated flatly. They jumped between buildings. For fun. He picked up the first datapad again. And this one. Lieutenant Sarah Chen lists speedrunning as a hobby. She broke into her own military's training facility to find faster routes through the obstacle course. They gave her a commendation instead of a court-martial. The second application belonged to Dr. Marcus Williams, whose background in theoretical physics should have made him a reasonable candidate. Except he'd apparently spent his doctoral years developing what he called quantum shenanigans, finding ways to exploit quantum mechanics for what he termed maximum chaos efficiency. The third candidate, Captain Anna Torres, seemed the most promising until Khizix reached her psychological evaluation. Subject shows exceptional problem-solving capabilities, particularly when told something is impossible, he read aloud. Warning: do not tell subject something cannot be done. This invariably results in it being done, often in spectacular fashion. The Council insists we must accept them, Varax reminded him. The humans have proven surprisingly capable in other fields. Khizix's crystalline form shimmered with resignation. Humans had indeed proven capable, terrifyingly so. Their ship designs ignored conventional wisdom about structural integrity in favor of what they called rule of cool. Their combat tactics read like entertainment scripts rather than military doctrine. Yet somehow, they worked. Very well, he sighed. Assign them to Training Group Epsilon. It's a basic stealth course. Even humans can't possibly disrupt it too badly. 3 days later, Khizix stood in the observation chamber, watching as Chen, Williams, and Torres arrived for their first day. The rest of Training Group Epsilon, 20 of the most promising stealth operatives from across the galaxy, maintained a careful distance from the humans. Instructor Anxville, a shadow walker from the Umbral Nebula, began the standard orientation. Stealth is about patience, precision, and question. Chen's hand shot up. These stealth suits have built-in gravity manipulators, right? For dampening footsteps. Correct, but... So theoretically, Williams chimed in, his eyes lighting up with what Khizix was learning to recognize as the dangerous human emotion called inspiration. We could reverse the polarity to launch ourselves across rooms. That would defeat the entire purpose of stealth. Or, Torres added, already examining her suit's control panel, we could modify the field to create localized time dilation effects. You know, for extra sneaking time. Khizix watched in horror as the 3 humans huddled together, their excited whispers punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter. Around them, the alien students observed with a mixture of confusion and growing concern. Admiral, Varax spoke softly. Perhaps we should increase security protocols for the training area. Triple them, Khizix ordered. Then, after a moment's consideration of what he'd seen of human ingenuity so far, no, quintuple them. And lock down access to the quantum physics lab. In fact, lock down all labs. And the kitchen. Especially the kitchen. The kitchen, sir. You don't want to know what humans can do with common cooking ingredients, Varax. You really don't want to know. As if to prove his point, Chen had somehow already removed her stealth suit's safety limiters and was experimentally bouncing off the training room's walls, while Williams took notes and Torres calculated trajectories on a holographic display. Axel's voice came through the comm, strained but maintaining professional composure. "Admiral, request permission to modify the training curriculum. I don't believe our standard approach will be sufficient." Kizix watched as Chen discovered she could use the suit's sonic dampeners to create localized sound barriers, effectively making stealth bubbles that she was now using to sneak up on her fellow students while humming what she called Mission Impossible music. "Permission granted," he replied, already drafting his resignation letter in his head. "The founders help us all." Class is in session. Today's exercise, Instructor Axel announced with what remained of his professional demeanor, is about infiltration through ventilation systems. He gestured to the elaborate maze of ducts suspended above the training floor. "You will navigate through." "Quick question," Chen interrupted, hand raised while somehow already halfway inside a vent. "Are we being graded on speed or style? Because I can do both." "Neither." Axel's shadowy form rippled with exasperation. "The point is to move silently and—" A muffled "wee" echoed through the ducts, followed by what sounded suspiciously like someone drifting around corners. "Undetected," he finished weakly. Williams, still on the ground, was examining the structural blueprints with alarming intensity. "You know, if we modulate the harmonic frequency of our movement to match the duct's natural resonance, we could theoretically phase through the walls." "Absolutely not." Kizix's voice crackled through the facility's speakers. "No phase shifting. The last time you attempted that, we lost 3 training drones to what you called a pocket dimension." "They're fine," Williams protested. "They're just experiencing time at a slightly different rate. They'll be back. Eventually." Torres, meanwhile, had somehow acquired a tablet displaying the facility's maintenance schedules. "Did you know," she announced to no one in particular, "that the cleaning drones follow the same route every day?" We cooled. "No hijacking the cleaning drones," Kizix interrupted. "Borrowing," Torres corrected. "The term is borrowing. With style." Up in the observation room, Virax's photoreceptors flickered nervously. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Training Room B." Kizix's crystalline structure briefly clouded with dread. "Define unusual." "Well, it appears Lieutenant Chen has discovered that the sonic dampeners can be reversed to create what she calls bounce paths. She's teaching the Arcturian delegates how to. I believe the term is sequence break through the course." Through the observation window, Kizix watched in mounting horror as previously serious stealth operatives from across the galaxy abandoned centuries of training in favor of what Chen enthusiastically called the speedrunner's approach. A Vularian shadow stalker, whose species was renowned for their patience and methodical nature, was now bouncing between walls like a hyperactive particle in a quantum accelerator. 2 Zrintal phase walkers, who could literally turn invisible, were instead engaged in what appeared to be a race through the ventilation system, cheered on by their classmates. "Admiral." Axel's voice carried the weight of someone watching their entire teaching career implode. "The humans have started a leaderboard." "A what?" "They're timing each run through the course and ranking them. They've even added categories: any percent, glitchless, and something called chaos percent, which I'm afraid to ask about." Kizix watched as Williams excitedly explained to a group of bemused aliens the concept of sequence breaking, the art of completing objectives in unintended orders for maximum efficiency. Torres had somehow turned the maintenance schedule into a complex algorithm for predicting guard patterns, which she was now teaching to a fascinated group of ethereal monks, whose entire philosophy revolved around moving unseen. "Sir," Virax reported, "the ethereal monks are requesting permission to update their ancient stealth manuscripts with what they call 6 strats." In the ducts above, Chen's voice echoed. "If you wall clip here and buffer the landing with a reverse sonic pulse, you can skip the entire second section. This isn't how stealth works." Anxville protested weakly. But it could be. Williams grinned, already sketching out equations for what he called quantum parkour. Kesix watched as a meridian ghost, whose species had evolved natural invisibility, attempted what Chen called a sequence break by launching themselves through what should have been a solid wall using precisely calibrated sonic pulses. "Sir," Virax spoke carefully, "the success rates for course completion have increased by 300%. But at what cost, Virax?" Kesix sighed. "At what cost?" The answer came in the form of Torres's voice over the comm. "Hey, quick question. If we synchronize everyone's sonic dampeners at just the right frequency, could we technically create a temporary wormhole? No WORM-EDHO-ES." Kesix and Anxville shouted simultaneously. "Just a small one," Williams added helpfully. "For science." Kesix watched as his elite stealth training facility descended into what humans would call organized chaos. The worst part wasn't that their methods were failing. It was that they were working spectacularly well. "Admiral," Anxville's voice had taken on a tone of resigned acceptance. "Should I update the training manual?" A cheer erupted from the training room as someone, Kesix didn't even want to know who, discovered that the stealth suit's thermal regulators could be used to create localized time dilation fields. "Yes," he sighed, "and add a new chapter. Call it Human Improvisation Techniques. May the founders forgive us." Also, Virax added, "Lieutenant Chen is requesting permission to teach an elective course on what she calls speedrun strats." Kesix's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "Granted. But please, for the love of all that's sacred, keep them away from the quantum physics lab." Too late. Williams's voice echoed cheerfully through the comm. "Did you know you can use quantum entanglement to create save points?" The simulation incident. "It's a simple extraction mission," Anxville explained to the assembled class, his shadowy form somehow conveying both hope and resignation. "Infiltrate the simulated facility, retrieve the target data crystal, and exit without detection. The simulation is running at accelerated time. What feels like 6 hours inside will be 30 minutes out here." Chen raised her hand. "Quick question about the simulation parameters." "No." Kesix's voice cut in through the speakers. "Whatever you're thinking, no. But I haven't even." The answer is still no. Williams was already examining the simulation pod's quantum matrices with disturbing interest. "These temporal fields are fascinating. You know, if we adjusted the phase variance." "Absolutely not," Kesix interrupted. "The simulation parameters are locked. There will be no temporal manipulation, no quantum tunneling, and absolutely no." He paused, checking his notes. "Sequence breaking." Torres, who had been suspiciously quiet, looked up from her tablet. "What about the facility's internal systems? Are those part of the simulation?" "Everything inside the simulation is fully functional and realistic," Anxville answered, immediately regretting his words as 3 human grins widened simultaneously. "Perfect," Chen beamed. "Just checking." The rest of the class, now well acquainted with their human colleagues' tendencies, took several prudent steps backward. "Begin simulation in 3, 2, 1. Anxville initiated the program, watching as the training group materialized inside the virtual facility. "Remember, stealth is about patience and—" He never finished the sentence. Inside the simulation, Chen had already accessed a maintenance terminal and was typing with alarming speed. "What is she doing?" Kesix demanded. "Sir," Virax reported, "she appears to be reprogramming the facility's cleaning droids." Indeed, the simulation's maintenance robots were now moving in perfectly choreographed patterns, creating what Chen called moving platforms through high-security areas. Williams, meanwhile, had discovered that the facility's quantum-encrypted security system had one critical flaw. It wasn't programmed to handle paradoxes. "If I input a logical paradox into the security scanner," he explained to a horrified ethereal monk. It causes a brief system reset during that millisecond of downtime. But that would be cheating, the monk protested. Optimal strategy, Williams corrected. Speedrunning is an art form. Torres had taken a different approach entirely. She'd somehow convinced the facility's AI that she was its long-lost creator, and was now being escorted through security checkpoints by the very systems designed to stop her. Your emotional manipulation of artificial intelligences is not stealth, Anxvol protested. Social engineering is totally stealth, Torres argued back. It's just stealth for computers. Kizix watched in mounting horror as the human's methods spread to the other students. A Vularian shadow stalker was now riding a reprogrammed cleaning droid through a laser grid. Two Zrintal phase walkers had started a competition to find the most creative way to crash the security system. Sir, Virax reported, the simulation's internal clock is showing some anomalies. Define anomalies. According to these readings, Lieutenant Chen has somehow completed the mission -3 minutes after it began. That's impossible. She's calling it a new world record. In the simulation control room, Williams had plugged his tablet into the system. If we treat the entire simulation as a quantum state, he explained to an increasingly worried group of instructors, we can technically complete the mission in negative time by exploiting uncertainty principles. That's not how quantum mechanics works. Kizix protested. Not with that attitude, Williams grinned. Torres, meanwhile, had started what she called a glitch hunting stream for the other students. See, if you clip through this wall at exactly the right angle while carrying a physics object, the game, simulation, thinks you're still in valid space. Admiral, Anxvol's voice had taken on a slightly hysterical edge. The ethereal monks are requesting to update their sacred texts again. They want to add a chapter on speedrunning strats to their ancient stealth manuscripts. Kizix watched as Chen demonstrated something she called a backward long jump that somehow launched her through several floors of the virtual facility simultaneously. Sir, Virax reported, we're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in the simulation matrix. Define unusual. The humans appear to have found a way to bundle multiple completion states into a single temporal moment. They're calling it a multi-track drift. Through the observation window, Kizix watched as previously dignified stealth operatives from across the galaxy abandoned millennia of tradition in favor of what Chen enthusiastically called going for that sub-zero completion time. Admiral, Anxvol's voice carried the weight of someone watching reality itself bend to human chaos. Should I update the simulation parameters? A cheer erupted from the control room as someone, Kizix didn't even want to know who, discovered that the simulation's physics engine could be exploited to achieve faster-than-light travel using nothing but a swivel chair and precise timing. No, he sighed. Shut it down. Shut it all down. Too late, Williams called cheerfully. We've achieved quantum superposition of all possible completion states simultaneously. We're technically finishing the mission infinite times per second. The simulation matrix flickered, reality hiccuped, and somewhere in the quantum realm, probability itself threw up its hands in defeat. Also, Torres added, we may have accidentally taught the facility's AI about speedrunning. It's now trying to optimize its own code for faster processing. Kizix's crystalline form dimmed to nearly transparent. Begin evacuation procedures. And someone please explain to the board of directors why we need a new simulation facility. On the bright side, Chen offered, we did technically complete the mission. Multiple times. In negative time. With style. That's not how time works. Kizix protested weakly. Not yet. Williams grinned, already sketching new equations. But just imagine the possibilities. Unorthodox solutions. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Defense Academy's board was interrupted by what sounded suspiciously like an explosion. That wasn't us this time. Chen's voice echoed through the facility's comm system. But you might want to come see this. Kizix and the board members rushed to the observation deck, where they found their 3 human students and a group of alien cadets gathered around a holographic display. So, Williams began, his hair even more disheveled than usual. Remember how we were messing with the simulation's quantum matrices? How could we forget? Kizix muttered. The temporal cleanup crew is still trying to untangle the paradoxes. Well, Torres continued, pulling up a complex diagram. While we were sequence-breaking reality, we noticed something odd. Show them, Sarah. Chen typed rapidly on her console, bringing up a series of energy signatures. These patterns shouldn't be here. They're like someone else's speedrun attempts, but in real space-time. Kizix's crystalline structure sharpened with sudden attention. Explain. The quantum fluctuations we detected. Williams gestured excitedly. They're not just from our chaos. Someone's been practicing, testing our defenses, real ones, not simulated. We think, Torres added, her usual playful tone replaced with professional focus. Someone's been using our training exercises as cover to probe the Academy's actual security systems. The board members exchanged alarmed glances. Kizix's form shifted to a deep, serious purple. Are you saying we have an infiltrator? Better, Chen grinned. We have a challenge. What followed was perhaps the most unorthodox security operation in galactic history. Instead of increasing guards or adding more security protocols, the humans proposed something else entirely. We let them in, Williams explained to the horrified board. Sort of. We create what speedrunners call honey route, a path that looks like an exploit, but is actually a trap. Torres pulled up the facility schematics. We took the liberty of adding some modifications, with help from our classmates. The ethereal monks had contributed their knowledge of shadow walking to create false paths. The Vularian shadow stalkers had set up quantum-entangled decoys. Even the Zrintal phase walkers had added their own touches, creating what they now enthusiastically called bait strats. The best part, Chen explained, practically bouncing with excitement, is that they'll think they're being clever, finding the exploits. But really, they'll be following our route, Williams finished, right into what speedrunners call a soft lock. Kizix watched as the humans and their alien classmates transformed the Academy's security systems into what Chen called the ultimate reverse speedrun trap. Traditional security measures were replaced with seemingly vulnerable points that were actually carefully crafted traps. Every apparent exploit was a carefully planned containment route. Admiral, Verax reported several hours later, we're detecting quantum fluctuations matching the previous pattern. They're making their move. The observation deck was crowded with instructors, board members, and students as they watched the plan unfold. On the security feeds, shadows moved in ways that suggested someone was trying very, very hard to be stealthy. They're taking the maintenance shaft route, Torres commented. Classic any percent strat. And there they go, using the quantum phase shift we left as bait. 3, 2, 1. Williams counted down. On screen, the infiltrators, a group of sleek, professional-looking operatives, materialized in what they thought was the Academy's central database. Instead, they found themselves in a containment field, surrounded by grinning students and very serious security forces. Welcome to our speedrun tournament, Chen announced cheerfully over the intercom. Unfortunately, your time of 47 minutes and 23 seconds doesn't qualify for the leaderboard. Better luck next attempt. The captured infiltrators looked utterly baffled as they were taken into custody. One of them, apparently their leader, turned to Kizix. How did you know? Simple, Williams replied, now typing up what he called a post-game analysis. You were running an outdated route. Meta's changed, buddy. Should have checked the patch notes. Later, in his office, Kizix reviewed the after-action reports. The infiltrators had been part of a sophisticated espionage operation, one that had successfully penetrated 3 other major galactic facilities. They had failed here because, As Torres put it, they weren't ready for the speedrunning community. Sir, Virax entered with another report. The board is impressed. They're suggesting implementing similar security measures across all major facilities. Let me guess, Kasich sighed. The humans have already volunteered to help. Actually, sir, it's the other students. The ethereal monks are calling it the new path of shadow. The Vularians want to establish what they're calling sequence break security protocols. And the Zrintal, well, they're just having fun now. Through his office window, Kasich watched as Chen taught a group of traditionally serious security officers something called the zero-frame rule. Williams was explaining quantum exploitation theory to fascinated physicists. Torres had somehow started a cross-species speedrunning competition for the security forces. You know, Virax. Kasich mused, his crystalline form shifting to a thoughtful blue. Perhaps we've been thinking about this all wrong. Maybe chaos isn't the opposite of security. Sir, maybe chaos, properly channeled, is security. He picked up one of the humans' reports, amusingly titled How to Turn Your Security System into a Dark Souls Game. After all, what better way to protect against the unexpected than to master unexpectedness itself? From somewhere in the facility, he heard Chen's voice. Okay, everyone. Welcome to Advanced Glitch Hunting 101. Today we'll learn how to use quantum entanglement for what I call spicy sequence breaks. Rewriting the manual. 1 year later, Kasich stood at the graduation ceremony of what the galactic media had dubbed the Chaos class. His crystalline form glowed with what he would never publicly admit was pride. In conclusion, he addressed the assembled graduates and dignitaries. While this year has challenged our traditional understanding of stealth operations, it has also revolutionized our approach to galactic security. On the presentation screen behind him, statistics told an undeniable story. Successful infiltration attempts across major galactic facilities had dropped by 94%. The remaining 6%, as Chen liked to point out, didn't check the speedrun leaderboards. Would our honored graduates please step forward? Kasich announced. Chen, Williams, and Torres approached the stage, followed by their alien classmates, the ethereal monks, now sporting what they called sequence break detection arrays alongside their traditional robes. The Vularian shadow stalkers, their stealth suits modified with what Williams had termed quantum Parker enhancers. The Zrintal phase walkers, who had integrated human chaos theory into their ancestral techniques. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, Kasich began, for revolutionizing our understanding of spatial manipulation and creating the now standard chaos theory approach to security systems. Chen accepted her diploma with a bow that somehow involved a backflip. Thanks. By the way, I found 3 new sequence breaks on my way to the stage. I'll submit the bug report later. Dr. Marcus Williams, for integrating quantum mechanics with security protocols in ways that Kasich paused, checking his notes, make theoretical physicists cry. Williams grinned, accepting his diploma while simultaneously running calculations on his tablet. Did you know we can use quantum superposition to create security systems that exist in all possible states until observed? It's like Schrödinger's defense grid. And Captain Anna Torres, for developing the now famous social engineering through quantum psychology protocol. Torres stepped forward, though Kasich noticed she had somehow already acquired her diploma. The security AI sends its regards. We're playing chess later. After the ceremony, Kasich reviewed the changes their Chaos class had brought to the Academy. The new curriculum included courses like Advanced Exploit Detection through Speedrunning, Quantum Uncertainty in Security Systems, and Creative Problem Solving, the human approach. Sir, Virax approached with a datapad. The latest security statistics are in. The humans' methods have been successfully implemented across 17 sectors. And the traditional security experts. Still complaining, sir, but they can't argue with the results, especially after the Arcturus incident. Ah yes, The Arcturus Incident. When a group of hardline traditionalists had dismissed the new chaos protocols as nonsense, only to have their facility penetrated by Chen in what she called a casual any % run, no glitches. She'd left behind a detailed report of every security flaw, along with a speedrunning tutorial. "Admiral," a junior officer interrupted, "we're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in Sector 7. Have you checked the leaderboards?" Kizix asked, surprising himself with how natural that question now felt. "Yes, sir. It matches the pattern of a known route. Security teams are already moving to the predicted extraction point." In the year since the humans had graduated, their influence had spread far beyond the academy. The ethereal monks had updated their ancient texts to include chapters on the sacred art of sequence breaking. The Vularian Defense Force now required all security officers to complete what they called chaos training. Even the Galactic Council had adapted. Their latest security directive officially recognized controlled chaos theory as a valid defense strategy. The document had been drafted by a committee that included several speedrunners, 3 quantum physicists, and a surprisingly enthusiastic AI that Torres had befriended. "Sir," Virax interrupted his thoughts, "the new class of recruits has arrived." Kizix accessed the roster on his datapad. More humans, of course, but also Martians, Europans, and representatives from 3 other Earth colonies. Each application included terms like speedrunning experience, quantum exploitation theory, and creative problem-solving. "You know, Virax," Kizix mused, watching as the new recruits arrived. Some walking, some phase-shifting, one apparently attempting to clip through the wall. "A wise human once told me that chaos isn't the opposite of order." "Sir, chaos is simply order that we don't yet understand. Our job isn't to eliminate it, but to master it, to turn unpredictability into an asset." From somewhere in the facility, he heard an explosion followed by excited voices discussing new tech. The quantum fluctuation detectors were lighting up like festival decorations. 3 different AIs were apparently having a heated debate about optimal route strategies. "Speaking of chaos," Virax reported, "Lieutenant Chen's latest security update is ready for implementation. She's calling it Dark Souls meets Portal meets Quantum Physics." Kizix's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Deploy it immediately." And Virax, "Yes, sir. Add another chapter to the manual. Call it The Art of Controlled Chaos, a Human's Guide to Revolutionary Security." As if in response, another explosion echoed through the facility, followed by Chen's voice over the comm. "That one was intentional. We're testing the new quantum parkour defense grid. Also, we may have accidentally created a small time loop, but don't worry. Williams says it's decorative." Kizix found himself doing something he never thought possible a year ago. He laughed. "Send me the bug report when you're done." And Chen, "Yes, Admiral. Make sure to update the leaderboards. We wouldn't want any potential infiltrators working with outdated routes, would we?" "Already on it, sir. By the way, has anyone told you about our new idea for 4-dimensional sequence breaking?" Kizix looked at his resignation letter, still saved but never sent, and quietly deleted it. The galaxy might not be ready for human chaos, but it certainly needed it. "Tell me more," he said, and prepared himself for another leap into the wonderful, terrifying unknown of human innovation.